everyone, and welcome to Slow Motion Broadcasting's coverage of Round 1, Group 1 of the Ray Esports Club Racing League. We are absolutely thrilled to have RES back with us for this beginning season in the MX5s. My name is Adam Thompson. I'm joined in the booth by the one, the only, some call him beautiful, Ron Mons, and he's also going to be running the cameras with us tonight. So buckle up, and it's not my fault, it's his if he messes it up. But before we go any further, insert John Bon Jovi theme song here, guys. It's Wednesday. We're halfway to the weekend. But we are at Daytona tonight, and this is the self-proclaimed World Center of Racing. It's been just for everything, been used for 24-hour races, but the two big ones are the NASCAR, obviously the Daytona 500, and they also do bike racing here. But the Rolex 24 is big. This has been Bill France's dream to build something more permanent to replace the hard sands of Daytona Beach to become a multi-use oval and road course catering to more than 100,000 fans. We are in qualifying though, Ron. I'm going to let you talk now. Are you excited? It's going to be Miatas. There's going to be a lot of draft. Get ready for it.
Oh, I am positively juiced for this season of racing action here from the Ray Esports Racing League. It's going to be a heck of a lot of fun throughout this season. Already getting qualifying up and rolling here, seeing some drivers out there on the racetrack for the first time in this brand new season. A lot of racing action to look forward to, and you'll be able to catch the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. The action from Group 1 here tonight. 2 races to look forward to, the MX5s to kick off the evening, and we follow Josh Justice, the sponsor of today's broadcast. I'll let you touch on that here in a few moments, Adam, but we have got ourselves a whole lot of fun to look forward to from this season. Some absolutely amazing tracks, some absolutely amazing competitors, and the same fantastic camaraderie that we usually expect here in the Ray Esports world.
Oh yeah, there's always camaraderie here. Super excited to see how all of this goes. Watching Josh now, he's actually about to go through the horseshoe at the moment. But while we're talking about Josh Justice, this up here on the top right-hand side of the screen, you can see Joshua Justice Enterprises. And Joshua Justice, if I can find the sponsor read, I promise you I will get there. It's been a long time since I've run commentary, but it's going to be a good one, Ron. Let me get to that sponsor read for Joshua. And just because we're waiting a little while, why don't we go on board with him for a flying lap with Josh around his first lap in qualifying?
Yeah, I think we will do that as we see him heading through the high banks. This is a very iconic circuit in the world of American auto racing. Has seen some changes, though, as we jump to the nose cam, and you'll be able to see the biggest change here in a few moments' time. Look at that infield, look at the chicane, and look at the lack of grass. That is sacrilege to me personally, and you know, it's just a bizarre view. They, of course, paved over this to prevent any sort of bad crashes like the one that Ryan Preece had in the summer Daytona race back in 2023. Yes. Was it 2024? Yep. I can't remember.
It was 23.
Ah, there we go.
It was 2020. Yeah. I believe it was 2023. And yeah, the fact that he came out of that is unbelievable. But they have definitely changed that for reasons like that. It's unfortunate. It is a very big eyesore, but I get it. I really do. But we are about to go on board here with Mr. Justice coming down the front stretch. Going to be taking as much speed as he can. Now, qualifying times might be a bit slower than the race times we're about to see because draft in these Miatas are going to be huge. Into turn 1, there is a bit. As you can see there, he actually comes outside to get through turn 1. There's a lot of camber on the racetrack. He goes wide. You can see how that camber pushed him to the outside of 1. Now through turn 2. I know it looks like a bit of an S there, but that is still turn 2. Now through the International Horseshoe. This is when things start to get a little bit tight, especially if you're going to be in these Miatas. You might see some passes here through the dog leg. This is going to get real scary because you're carrying as much speed as you can. You can do it full throttle through the dog leg right here, and then coming up to the West Horseshoe into turn 5. This is a very easy corner to get wrong. You can lock it up super easy. You don't expect this corner to go on as long as it does. It just goes on forever. But we're getting to the fun part of the racetrack now. Now in through turn 6. You got to get this right too. It flattens out. The rear end of the car gets really wobbly coming out of turn 6 and through turn 7 onto the fastest part of the racetrack. by far. These Miatas are going to be going flat out. This is technically turn 8, turn 3, or turn 4. Listen, it's turn 3. Now he's going through turn 4 of the oval, but turn 8 for the road course. They didn't make it 2 corners. Sorry, oval racers. I know they should have, but you're still going down the straightaway. Still going. 3 board, 2 board. When's he going to break? Breaks just before the 1 board. Gets that rear end kicked out through the Le Mans chicane, like Ron mentioned. Lots of concrete there now. I don't know how the off-tracks are going to work there. I don't know if the off-track limit is still, but that used to be a very easy spot to get off-tracks, then back on the throttle again. All the way through turns 3 and 4 of the oval side, turn 12 and turn 13 if we're talking about the road course side. And we don't have the chicane here at the end of the track that there would be if NASCAR was running here. So they're just going to be going flat out, full bore, all the way into turn 1 again. Turn 1 run, I think lap after lap, is going to be one of the points of contention here, to say the least.
Oh, it absolutely is going to be. Turn 1, especially at the start of the race, going to be hectic, so probably puts a bit more importance in this qualifying session that we're in the midst of right now, following your reigning MX5 champion here in the Ray Esports Racing League. Won it in Season 1 of the Ray Esports Club Series all the way back in the fall, winter, and spring of late 2024 and early 2025. It's Michelle Squirick, a driver that we've gone to see in all types of machinery here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Of course, in these MX5s, which she calls home both in the sim and in real life. She's also been a driver trainer over in the Liberty Bell series that you can catch on Sundays here on SMB, and another series that we broadcast on Wednesdays, the Ferrari Road Oval Challenge by Extreme Motorsports. So Michelle Squirick, very, very good in these cars. Part of the reason why she's up at the top of the polls, it stands right now, currently setting a 2 minute 11.856. Jumping up to the pole, though, is Rick was shown.
Oh my goodness.
He jumps up with a big time.
I was not expecting that. Rick was shown is going to bring Michelle a bit of heat here, at least in qualifying. And if it's this close in qualifying, it's going to be this close in the race. It is very, very difficult to break away here with the amount of draft that these MX-5s are going to get. This track is not a... How do I want to say this without offending people? It's not a track that you have to be good at to stay in the draft. You can still be competitive even if you're not the fastest driver out there just because of the draft. So it's going to be super exciting to see what Rick was shown can do and Michelle Squirick. And the other issue is going to be if they start racing super hard, it's going to open that up. There's probably going to be a 10, 12 car pack right behind them. So let's see though. 8:52 left out of 10 minutes. So they're going to probably Rick might get one more lap here done. They should have 2 laps to do. Once they complete their 2, they are done. Michelle now going down the front stretch here, trying to improve on that time. Is she going to do it? She does not. She runs a 2:12.029. Got a bit slower there on her second lap. So that's probably going to put Rick Washone on the pole here for the race, Ron.
Yeah, looking good for Washone. Looking good for Squirick, though. Still set to join Washone on that front row, so it's not game, set, match for this race that lies ahead either. But I will look through some of the other drivers that we've got in this field. Some standout stars from the Ray Esports and Weekend Warriors world. Here's one of them, currently qualified in P3. Bats across the line. Not going to be an improvement from Dmitry Lukanov as he picked up a slowdown, heading his way off through the bus stop. But Lukanov, a driver who's really impressed in his first few starts over in the Formula Ford and the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors that you can catch on Sundays here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, and you can never miss out on the action by hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell. But Lukanov, very quick racer here in these cars, but he's going to be starting a little bit farther up towards the front than some people may have had in mind. Usually a good racer in those Formula Fords. In fact, probably your Spec 2 championship leader at the moment in the Spec 2 class over in the Formula Fords. But we've got a race to look ahead to here, Adam, and let's get all up and rolling by taking a look at the first starting grid from this season.
Let's do it. So starting in P1 is going to be Rick Washone with the 2:11.835. Great qualifying lap by Rick. Michelle Squirick starting on his outside, or sorry, right side. We're at Daytona. I'm so used to just, NASCAR stuff. Starting on his right in second place with Dmitry Lukinov starting in third, Kyle Robertson in fourth, Miles Crabb, another quick driver, starting in fifth with Casey Knight, another quick driver. Her and Michelle, I know, are pretty close friends, starting in sixth. Sean Doyle in seventh, David Finch in eighth, Will Pierre starting in ninth place, and Tonio, oh, he is not Bat Tonio anymore, Ron. He is now Hulk Tonio, starting in 10th place.
It's Hulkonio. We gotta get it right there. It's Hulkonio.
But he's going to be starting
this race in P10. Don't worry. It took me a little while to get it right myself, but he's gonna be starting this race in P10. Looking right behind on your next row, it's going to be Brian Haynes starting alongside Matt Thompson in P11 and P12. Looking right behind and running at the rest of the field, we got Casey Waters starting this race in 13. TJ Yankee in 14th place. We're going to have Freddie Weaver starting in 15th. Edgar Sancinelli in 16th. It's going to be LaShawn Young-Dilworth starting this race in P17 alongside Jacob Schilling in 18th. Chuck Labano will start this race in 19th. Joshua Justice, a sponsor of today's broadcast, will round out your top 20.
In 21st, we've got Charles Boley, Aaron Bray starting in 22nd, Corey Heffron in 23rd, and Miles Brown rounding out your grid. Nope, just kidding. In 24th, Mark Sherman 25th, Joe Sacchetti in 26th, Charles Boley 27th. League organizer Stevie Ray for Slow Motion Racing starting in 28th, Thomas Froling in 29th, Scott Russell in 30th, Caleb Pocock starting 31st, John Casey 32nd, Jason Grider's in the field tonight starting 33rd, Mike Key 34th. My goodness, there's a lot of cars on track. Lucas Bachman in 35th, Zach Miller 36th, Joaquin Effinger in 37th, Tom Wendt 38th, Trenton Kramer starting way back there in 39th, Ben Spolman, Caden Parks Miller, Brandon Carl, and Joe Camilleri round out your 43 car field here tonight.
Holy cow, I will give you the opportunity to breathe here, Adam. Not a lot of opportunity, though. The drivers are already heading their way off through the high banks, about to take the green flag for the very first time this season. What a stacked field of racers. Don't believe Trent Kramer or Joe Camilleri took to the track for this pace lap, but still 41 starters here at Daytona. This is going to test many things. It's going to test these drivers' patience, test these drivers' skill. They're going to have a big, tough task on their hands at the very start of the season. It's also going to test my computer skills because, God almighty, that graphics card is probably going to be melted by the end of this race.
Oh, it probably will, Rod, but it's okay because I'm watching it along with you, so we'll see which one goes out first. But here we go. Coming to the start line here. When are they going to go green? We got the green flag from the spotter, and we are green on the racetrack. Rick Witchon gets a okay start. Michelle is still going to try to side draft him down into turn one. The question is she going to get in line? She can't get in line. Dmitry Lukinov is too close. That's going to hang Michelle out on the outside of the racetrack. 3 wide back behind him. Everyone goes nose to tail in front of him, though. Looks like we do have a crash at least, but we'll get to that here in just a second. Still 2 wide now going into the Rodriguez International Horseshoe there. Who's going to get that? It doesn't matter right now. Looks like Kyle Robertson barely has it. Miles Crabb still sitting there in 5th place, and now they're going to go through the dog leg. They got to be careful going through here. 2 wide. They are still 2 wide, though, and they both make it through. Rick Wishone still in 1st place, getting back onto the straightaway here soon, and we're going to see what happens here on the super speedway section.
Yeah, as soon as we head off into the flat out blast on this racetrack, things are going to get even more frenetic, even more hectic, even more terrifying for these competitors. Do want to say that one driver that got struck by a falling anvil early is Aaron Bray. There he is in the number 6 car, the usual scorekeeper here in the Ray Esports world. He has not been alone in the drama. Jason Grider has had his fair share of drama too. He's had to tow back to pit lane, already out of this race before the season fully gets up and rolling, but an insanely strong grid of racers. One driver I think will be joining the track soon. That is Trent Kramer, but here we go indeed.
So it looks like Michelle is already just going to be working with Rick here, trying to get a bit of a breakaway between everybody behind them so they can go ahead and race 2, 3, 4, 5 cars instead of 20 cars in this lead pack. We'll see how well that works out. Probably not great, but one thing I do want to mention that I saw in practice just a little bit is the bump drafting. We saw that go wrong just a little bit too, didn't we, Ron?
Yeah, occasionally it can go pretty awry. The thing with these MX-5s, they're not stock cars. As much as they've got the draft of one, they are not stock cars. They are not designed to do insane bump drafting, which they kind of have to do here at Daytona. They don't have much of a choice, but that is an unnerving bump every single time you have to give it. So these racers are going to be playing with fire all throughout this race when it comes to the draft, when it comes to the bump
here
drafting.
we go.
Oh my, they're already 3 wide.
Dmitry Lukanov gets swallowed up there, gets passed on the inside and the outside, goes ahead and says, go ahead, Mr. Crab and Mr. Robertson, I will get you guys back the next lap. But Miles Crab and Kyle Robertson both make that move. I think I may have saw some sparks from Miles Crab there on the outside to get around Dmitry. Look at how much. Look at the amount of space they're using on the exit of that international horseshoe to get around the corner. Even though these Miatas are a bit underpowered, they do not lack grip, I can tell you that much. And they want to use as much of that momentum as they can. They don't want to get these things slowed down. You don't have the power to punch it out of the straights if you need to. And speaking of bump drafting here, I want to look at the front of Michelle Squirick's car. You can already see a bit of damage there from the bump draft. I do believe it's just cosmetic. I don't think it's going to hurt her car that much, but you can see a bit of a gap there between the hood and the front fender.
Yeah, and it may not seem like too much. It may not look too bad cosmetically, but that can really affect your speed heading down these straightaways. Keep an eye on Miles Crab, a driver who was eluded in his attempts to grab a victory last season so often. He's a great racer in that 131 car. Fantastic driver in the Ray Esports world. Someone who I've had experience in the past covering. Look at that closing speed.
My goodness, the closing speed. She was 0.4 of a second back when she came out of turn 7, and all of a sudden she's right back on the back of Rick Rochon. Again, this just talks about the amount of draft we're going to get. We do have a yellow flag, though, from Sean Doyle. Looks like he's still on the track, though. Losing a bit of time. Oh, he may not. He was losing a lot of time there. He's up. I bet you that was a slowdown through the Le Mans chicane, Ron.
Yeah, so quick little lesson for you here, Adam, in terms of some of the wonderful things that SDK has done ever since the last time that he commentated one of these races here on SMB. The yellow flag means that drivers picked up a slowdown. That's exactly what happened to TJ Yankee. He's dropping down like a stone thrown into a pond. Same could be said about the Aussie, Sean Doyle. I believe one of the only Aussies in this field, in fact. He's running down, losing out on some spot slot in lucky number P13, a driver who nearly walked away with a Formula Ford Weekend Warriors championship a couple of seasons ago. He's running all right in this race. A little bit of damage on the front end of his race car, though, so maybe a tough ask, as I think there was some drama right behind involving Charles Boley going off the track and dropping down like a stone.
Yeah, he was. But while we're talking about this mid-pack here, we are looking here at Joshua Justice. Again, the sponsor for tonight's races, up in P14, up 6 positions. And now I found the sponsor read, guys, so we're going to do it. Joshua Justice Enterprises does computer consulting out of Parker County, Texas. They are now actively accepting contracts for software development, DevOps, spreadsheet design, databases. Wow, I said that weird. Databases, software consulting, geospatial, and more. So if you're looking for any computer stuff, long story short, go to Mr. Justice. Thank you, Mr. Josh, for sponsoring tonight's race. Again, up 6 positions, doing a great job staying out of trouble, and that is a tough thing to do here in the middle of the pack, especially at Daytona, Ron.
Oh, it is a super tough ask. So the fact this field is still packed in as much as they are is truly unbelievable. Gotta say, though, one performance I think is noteworthy is the one of Rick Rochon. He still holds on to the race lead. You can see that gap continues to fluctuate between himself and Michelle Squirick, slotted right behind. That's mainly just down to the draft. But even though there's so many long, flat-out blasts on this racetrack, Rochon has been able to shake off the challengers like a bad case of the fleas. His house, Michelle Squirick, got a little bit crossed up, heading off through the S's. Can see the damage on the front end of that race car. I wonder if that could be part of the reason why Squirick's not able to really pull too much of that gap between herself and was shown back, as the likes of Kyle Robertson, Dmitry Lukanov, Miles Crab slide a little bit farther behind, side by side with Will Pierre, who put in some darn good performances last season in the touring car ranks in the Ray Esports Club Racing League. Nice to see him out here in the MX-5s. Still, though, right behind, it's as if Michelle is a bit of a cork in the bottle here up towards the front.
Yeah, you start to wonder when they're going to start to get impatient. We say she's a cork in the bottle, but look at this. That was 1.1 seconds coming out of the Le Mans chicane, already back to 0.3 of a second. So she might not be as big of a cork as we think she is. She did get a bit crossed up there, but she's still sitting in P2, and it looks like Kyle Robertson behind her is just happy, for now, to push her. We're only 7 minutes into this 30 minutes race, though, and we can see it getting a little bit sketchy behind it. Will Pierre excuse me, Will Pierre going for the move on Dmitry Lukinov. Is he going to make it stick? It looks like he is, and Dmitry might get swallowed up again by Miles Crabbe even. Going to the outside, that is a very difficult place to make a pass, but now he's on the inside going into turn... Oh my goodness, going into turn 5, excuse me. So yeah, looks like he doesn't get it done. Miles Crabbe now under pressure from Casey Knight. You can see those paint jobs between her and Michelle. You can't tell them apart. Definitely teammates here. You wonder if Casey can get a few more spots. This might be Michelle's race to lose if she has a teammate.
Yeah, if Casey Knight can get a little bit farther up the road, that could work out very, very well for Casey and Michelle, respectively. And it would not be music to the ears of Rick Washone, who still holds on to that spot up towards the front of the field. I do want to give this opportunity, though, as things have settled, relatively speaking, up towards the front, to give some love to this battle a little bit farther behind these racers. It's David Finch and Antonio Reese. They're battling for some of the final spots inside of the top 10, holding on to P8 and P9 as it stands currently, heading their way off down into the S's, the chicane, I should say, the Le Mans chicane, to be a bit more precise, which always feels a little bit off the tongue. But, yeah, oh boy, not touching that one. Antonio Reese, though, has only 1.2 seconds to close up between himself and Casey Knight, so that is not insurmountable for Antonio at all. We have a lot of experience covering Antonio, either in this series or in the Weekend Warriors. We know that he's a quick driver, so let's see what he can do here today.
I'm looking at Antonio's SDK profile picture right now. Not only has he gone from Batonio to Wolveronio to Hulkonio, but now he has got the actual kind of scary looking Hulk there on his profile picture. But again, if these two keep working together, Antonio can probably get up. There is some serious stuff going on up there. Looks like Rick Washone gets shuffled way back. Michelle Squarick now in the lead. I saw Rick Washone falling back. He only falls back to P6 though. Still doing okay. He's still in that lead group. But again, this is the kind of stuff that Antonio and David need to get back into that lead group. Look at that gap now, 1.5 seconds. It's going to close up even more if they're still side by side going on to the super speedway section of this. They have got to get this figured out.
Yeah, so let's see exactly what caused all this to happen. I'm going to try and load up a replay, see exactly what happened to Washone.
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, it's okay. We're going to see what happened with Rick. It looks like Michelle was on his bumper. Ooh, she went for a move, and then she goes for another move. Knocks it. Ooh, that was close. That was close. But I'm not here to pass judgment. Michelle is now in the lead, and they were side by side again going through turn 7, back onto the racetrack. And look now, Dmitry Lukinov now has a 0.4 seconds of an advantage. But look at that gap between 7th and 8th. Antonio Reese now almost within a second. He is tantalizingly close to draft range, Ron.
Yeah, you know how I said that gap was by no means insurmountable? That's exactly what it is. It's now side-by-side racing with Michelle Squarick and Dmitry Lukinov heading down into the Le Mans chicane, and through into the race lead goes Squarick. That's a good spot to get a move done, but it's pretty much a house built on a foundation of quicksand, because you got this long flat-out blast hanging down to that start-finish straightaway, which will come in handy later. But more importantly, at the moment, the run down into turn number 1 for Dmitry Lukinov, it's plenty of time to pull back along side by side, get some assistance from Kyle Robertson right in tow. Let's look at the nose cam of Kyle Robertson. We can see everything that's going on in the back of Dmitry Lukinov's race car, probably into the rear differential, in fact. But that right there is the teamwork that you need to make the dream work here, as it's oh so close. Robertson tried to slip back in front.
Oh, man, and it looks like Dmitry came right across the nose of Robertson and almost got Dmitry out of shape. He's still able to hold on to P1, though, and look at that. Antonio Reese and David Finch, welcome to the party, my friends. This has turned now into a 9-car battle for the win. We're not even halfway through this race yet. Now, the one question I do want to ask, Rick Washone back there in P4, You wonder if he gets back up there, which he will. He's quick. You wonder how they're going to race each other, Ron, coming into the end of this race.
You know, that's a good point that you raised. To get ruffled up like that a little bit earlier on can leave a bit of a bitter taste in somebody's mouth, but these racers know that these MX-5 races are very frenetic. It's usually pure unbridled chaos out there. I mean, hey, think of the amount of cars that we have got out here on the racetrack. We've got a lot. 42 drivers have taken to the track. Joe Camilleri did not take the start in the number 06 machine, but it is still just pandemonium out there on the circuit. You can see on the track map heading off through the infield section how many cars are so close to one another that you can't really, you gotta make sure that you don't sweat the small stuff in an event like this. Make sure that if there is a little bit of contact, say, you know what, it's unfortunate. I'm sure there was no intent involved. Michelle Squire, a real-life Spec Miata competitor, somebody who has a whole lot of experience racing here on iRacing, she knows that, like, that was not an intentional move from Squire. I'm sure Rick Rochon knows that, as he's now jumped up to third with Will Pierre running wide all through the Le Mans chicane, and he picks up a slowdown in the process. He's got to get sent all the way to the back of this pack.
He absolutely is. And while we're watching this, we do need to talk about there being 41 drivers. And I want to give a little bit of love to the driver in P16, Caden Parks Miller, up, Ron, I cannot believe I'm saying this, 25 positions. 25 positions from the start of this race. Keeping 26. It clean. Make that 26 for now. We'll see what happens as they get to turn one. But Caden Parks Miller on an absolutely amazing drive, trying to get around Edgar Sancinelli at the moment, but it looks like Edgar might get a bit of help from Joe Sacchetti down there on the bottom part of the racetrack. There goes Edgar. Let's keep on this until we get to turn one. Is Caden going to try to hold it around the outside, or is he going to fall in line? It looks like he's going to try to hold it around the outside around Edgar Sancinelli. Can he make it happen? No, he cannot. Oh, there's some contact there. That could have been real bad, but everyone gets through it.
Yeah, the contact is made and the sparks fly as they duke it out, heading down into turn number one. And now you can see the damage on the front end of that number 14 machine. Look at that car. That's not looking factory fresh by any means. And he is really cutting shapes out there on the circuit. You can see him doing a hop, skip, and a jump over that inside curb as he headed his way off through the first horseshoe, right on board with Corey Heffron. So you can get a good look at the front end of that number 14 car right behind of Caden Parks Miller. That's not looking good at all. That's a move. That's Heffron with a little bit wiggly. And now look at Caden Parks Miller trying to make it side by side.
Wow, Caden Parks Miller did not even think about that for a second. He went for it, but now he's going to be hung out on the outside. He gets into the grass a little bit, but he does not hurt him. Caden Parks Miller is on an absolute tear right now. He does not want to lose any of these positions. Let's see what he does as he try to help Corey get back up to the two of Joe Sacchetti and Edgar Sancinelli. It looks like he might. You can tell he's been using the front end of that car to bump people up into the draft of the cars ahead of them.
This may be a disturbing shot. I'll pull it anyways. The nose cam. Yeah, there we go. That tells you everything you need to know about how close these cars are. Close quarter stuff as they head their way through these flat out blasts. You just said it. You hit the nail right on the head, Adam, talking about how Caden Parks Miller really has had no fear up to this point in the race. Pulling off the bumps, bumping like a madman. It's worked out well for him. I feel like to get out of this race with a perfectly clean looking race car, that's going to be a feat. Parks Miller, though, going to lose that on a lot of time. He picks up a slowdown, heading his way off through the chicane. Same can be said about Charles Boley a little bit farther behind. So that's going to allow this 4-car pack to turn really into a 3, as much as Caden Parks Miller still is keeping tabs on those races a little bit farther up the road. There's only so long that he can hold on to that spot. Still up 23 from where he started in this race. The next closest in terms of the hard charger, I believe, would be Brandon Carl, running P25 at the moment, up 17 spots from where he started in this race. Pure unbridled madness there as we take a look at this 3-car battle with Sancinelli up at the front. Frito punching that hole in the air, but Corey Heffron gonna make it side by side.
Wow. Yeah, and I mean, if they do this, that may help. Caden is really, really slow back there, actually. I wonder if something's going on with that car. I know he had to serve that slowdown, but this is insane how much time he just lost. He's still losing positions.
Yeah, so I think they're, I mean, he certainly picked up a big slowdown all through there, and he didn't serve it rather quickly. He took a little while to actually get that slowdown taken care of, so I wonder if that's part of the reason why he's now dropping down, having to get that slowdown fully taken care of in the span of just a couple of moments. A 3-second slowdown served in 10 seconds stings a lot more than a 3-second slowdown served in 30, so I think that could be part of the reason why Caden Parks-Miller is dropping down. Still the hard charger in this race, but he has to keep his eyes open for the driver of the 770 car a little bit farther down in the back of the pack. It's your P24 runner, Brendan Carl. Haven't given too much love to this driver of the 770 car yet, but he has scythed his way through the field, currently up 18 spots from where he started in this race. Great drives up and down the field.
That is the one issue. We do have an issue up in the front as well with Kyle Robertson, but that's the one issue with big fields like this is we try to cover all of these drivers, and he's still off the track. Something has happened really bad through the Le Mans chicane, Ron.
Yeah, I'm going to have to load up a replay to figure out exactly what the deal was for him. You can see as we jump to that, spinning up the rear wheels, trying to get that car turned back around. He has dropped down like a stone thrown into a pond, slotted in 14th as it stands right now. The drivers at the front, though, they've broken up into their own little pack. Look at Rick Washon and Dmitry Lukanov. They've pulled a 7/10 of a second gap to the pack right behind, which is just absolute chaos. Have to worry about some lap traffic a little bit farther up the road, trying to figure out who that car is right in front. That's Zachary Miller.
Oh,
and the
no.
number 4 car, this is a bad spot for them to catch up to him, too.
Yeah, this is where you don't want to be slow. You want to carry as much speed through here as you can. This is how you break away. He does get out of the way, though, but that's going to compromise some of the exits of these drivers. Ooh, it looks like they all get through there okay. And they are still going at it right now, but Antonio Reese still up there in the pack. Will Pierre is still up there. Miles Crabb, Casey Knight, David Finch, Joshua Justice now up 11 positions into P9, another big mover in this race. But yes, this is gone. This pack has really been 9 cars since the start of this race, Ron. It's going to be an absolute mad dash to the finish. Now we have to start talking about the finish a little bit. Oh my goodness, Miles Crabb gets extremely loose coming out of turn 7. And I mentioned that you can start losing the rear end there just a little bit. That was a way more than a little bit, Ron.
I'm not sure what just came out of my mouth as he came out of the infield section and had that sideways snap. Basically what I could describe as a vocal Macarena as he got sideways through there. Miles Crabb just had a wild ride. He still holds on to a good spot, holding on to P7 at the current moment. But in all of that, those small little slides can take you out of it big time. You mentioned right towards the top of the show, Adam, how this is sort of racetrack where he can have a couple of mistakes and he can not exactly have the quickest race car, but still run smooth. But small little mistakes can cost you big time, whether it be a slide from Crabb or a slowdown from Finch.
Yeah, you want to talk about small little mistakes. We saw this happen just a little bit earlier with Caden Parks-Miller. This is going to hurt him not a little, but a lot. He has to get this slowdown served because this front stretch is too long, or so long as well. He can't really serve it in a slow speed corner. You've almost got to get it served immediately. You go to the top side of the racetrack to bleed off a little bit of time. We'll talk about slowdowns later, Ron. It's getting wild up here at the front.
As if it already hasn't been, look at these racers and the war wounds they have on their MX-5s as they head their way out of one in through the infield for another time in this race. Getting into crunch time as we only have about 10 minutes left on the clock. That's Squirek and Will Pierre holding on to P1 and P2. Dmitry Lukanov running in third, one of the only drivers in this pack to be in the exact same spot that he started in. He's had a wild debut here in the Ray Esports Club Racing League as he's battling with series veterans. Rick Washon looking to bounce back with some damage on the front end of that race car. That may make it a bit of a tough ask. We talk about the damage on the front end of Michelle Squirek's car, but you look at the front of Squirek, a little bit of crinkling with that front bumper, and the hood is slightly askew.
Oh, look at the rear.
Meanwhile, oh yeah, that is not looking good for the rear end of Michelle Squirek's car. But look at the front of Washon's machine. Looks like a clay bottle that just got smacked with a mallet.
It does, but I think that's going to be okay because as long as you're sitting in the draft, it doesn't matter that much, and that's what I wanted to talk about. Rick Washon was in the lead coming out of the Le Mans chicane on the last lap. He's now down into P4. I don't know where he lost all those positions, but I guarantee you it was probably before the start-finish line. So you wonder if Rick Washone is now starting to scheme a little bit to figure out where he wants to be at the end of this race, because I'm telling you, where you don't want to be was where Michelle Squires is right now, Ron.
Yeah, Michelle Squires up at the front. I'm not really sure the best way I could describe it. It's basically like being a fly caught in a spider's web right as the spider is coming back home for supper. That's pretty much what Michelle Squires finds herself in at the moment, holding on to that race lead, which is good 1 foot before the start-finish line here, but not good anywhere else. Will Pierre, meanwhile, gonna get a big push from Rick Washone right behind to jump his way up to the front. Pierre, a driver that we saw a decent amount of last season in the Ray Esports Club Racing League, but in some darn good performances in the TCR ranks. But here in these MX-5s, running a strong race with the 75 of Squire, side by side and 3 wide, nearly right behind. Look at that close quarter stuff as they had their way down in the braking zone.
Yeah, don't look now, but look at where Casey Knight is. She's now up into 5th place. Those two paint schemes are getting closer and closer together, and once they're together, I think it might be extremely difficult to separate them. If Casey can get just a few more positions up to the back bumper of Michelle Squires, it's going to get real tough for anybody to beat them. You're going to see bump drafting, I have a feeling, like you haven't seen before. We will see this happening, and it's going to get worse and worse as we get down to the final closing minutes of this race. We're going to see some more aggressive overtakes. That was very close for Rick Washone.
Yeah, that was an oversteer snap as he headed his way downtown into the second horseshoe. Got a bit of a wiggle, maybe a rear lock, whatever the case may be. He got oh so close to making contact with Will Pierre, who he just got a move put on to jump his way up into the final podium spot. The battling behind going to be intense. I don't think these front two are going to break away, though. As much as Michelle Squires and Dmitry Lukanov have a 4/10 of a second gap from Squires to the front of Lukanov, and from Lukanov to Washone of about 4/10, that can disappear with a snap of a finger here at Daytona. It most certainly will. Look at Washone and Will Pierre giving each other the bumper. That is the old NASCAR-style tandem drafting that we saw back in the day. And look at Squires and Lukanov doing the exact same up in the north end as we get closer and closer to the end of this race with only a few laps left to go. These racers are going to be on the ragged edge of control and have to worry about these small little mistakes. Look at how aggressive they're treating the curbs. The reimagined curbs heading off through that reimagined Le Mans chicane on the back end of the circuit. They are playing with fire, but they are running a very dangerous game. One slowdown for any of these racers, and they're gone.
Yeah, I mean, we got to start watching this, too. That was super close. Look at Casey Knight popping out as well, trying to get another position up high. She gets a huge draft, and look at this. It looks like Will Pierre is not Will Pierre. Miles Crabbe is going with her. We are going to go 3 wide into 1. Casey Knight is about to pass about 3 cars. Can she be brave on the brakes? No, she can't. Miles Crabbe actually moves her out of the way. She's going to lose positions from all that, Ron.
And wow, that was a wild turn of events. That shows you how quickly the tides can change here at Daytona. It is a coastal city. You usually have to worry about the tides on the old beach circuit that they used to race at before here. But here at Daytona, especially in these MX-5s, the tides can go one way, the tides can go the other. Sometimes you get washed ashore, other times you get dragged out to sea, and you can never really tell what it may be. Side-by-side racing between Michelle Squires and Rick Washone as they head their way now down into the second horseshoe. Washone going to hold on to that inside line and through to the race lead. He's going to go unless Squires has anything to say about it.
I don't think there's really any way to hold that outside line around there, and I would love one of these drivers to prove me wrong, but it's very difficult to do. Now Michelle Squires is going to slot back into P2, and Washone, first of all, look how far Washone came out of turn 7. That is a very dangerous place to be, but you don't want to be that far ahead either. Watch him get absolutely swallowed up by this pack as they get closer to him. Watch that gap closing. 3/10 now. Now down to almost 2/10, 2.5 down to 2/10, almost down to 1/10. Now look at that closing rate. 1/10. Watch this. Now what's Michelle going to do? She's going to bump him, and she doesn't lift either. She got right up to his back bumper. Maybe looking for a move through the Le Mans chicane. No, she's not. She's going to hold on. Now This is where some crazy chess games are going to have to get played here, Ron. We're only 4 minutes. That's about 2 laps around here. We're about 2 laps away from the finish. What's happened?
Slow down.
No! Michelle got to slow down. So did Dmitry Lukinov. I mentioned that. They were using those curbs very aggressively. I wondered if one of them were going to use them too much. Not one, but 2 of them did.
Now, I wonder if they know they've got to slow down because they're not lifting at the moment. Was shown has got Michelle Squire pushing him along. Meanwhile, you got Lukinov. He's finally realized he's dropping down like a stone thrown into a pond. Was shown, meanwhile, he's going to
have to get out of the way. This is not good.
Oh, that's a choke point.
He's going to have to slam on the brakes. Okay, he does get out of the way, though. I was going to say that is a very dangerous spot going into turn 1 to serve that, but he gets out of the way. Rishon actually gets black flagged. He did not serve it long enough. That's going to be a drive-through for Rick Rishon.
And that is game, set, match for him. The driver, the number 36 car, has been up and down through the field thus far in this race. Started up towards the front, was running in the lead for an extended period of time, then lost out on a whole lot of time, lost down the lead, had contact made, and then that slowdown was his downfall. The black flag gonna have to get served between now and the very end. Actually, I think it's usually about a 3-lap buffer. I'm gonna hold off on that point, though, talking about whether Rishon can make it to the end without serving that black flag. A side-by-side at the front between Pierre and Squirek, and here comes Knight.
Yeah, Casey Knight and Michelle Squirek have found each other at about the perfect time here. Casey Knight now in 3rd place. I guarantee you, wherever Michelle goes, so does Casey. The question is Will going to get any help? You can see now Michelle is actually going to the top of the racetrack here, and Casey's staying low. Is she going to go for the move? Oh, no, she lets Michelle slot back in, but here we go, Ron.
I think she's waiting for the run, waiting for that engine car to hook up to this train, and then they're going to chug along to that station. That station ends in only one destination, and that is Victory Lane. Not going to go for it, though. A little bit surprised. Does Squirek have anything to say about this? That's was shown diving off the road. Look at Miles Crab. He's going to stick it down the inside. Look at the left-hand side of his race car. All over the curb. The right-hand side, too. The right-hand side tires of that car flying up in the air like a kite as he headed his way off through the Le Mans chicane. And now here we go, and all that drama and all that stacking up, a 1-second gap has grown between the 2 teammates. It's now Will Pierre and Michelle Squirek running in P1 and P2. They're going to be taking the white flag this time by as well, Adam. So as much as we've been seeing this aggression grow and grow and grow and grow, now is the point where that pay window opens with that white flag in the air. 1 more lap of racing action and 2 drivers left to the front to try and duke it out unless anybody can hitch a ride.
0.9 of a second separates P2 and P3, but there is a train coming if they can get that figured out back there. Just keep an eye on that. Rick was shown falling down the field, as you can see, serving that black flag penalty, so he did have to get it served before the end of the race, but they have got to get closer than this. Casey Knight is going to have to be a little bit later on the brakes. She's going to have to try to do something to get close, or these drivers behind her are going to get impatient. Down still to 0.9 of a second. That is enough to make up, especially if there is a bit of help, because there's a big train back there. But the question is, are they going to want to stay in line, or are we going to have some crazy fireworks going into the Le Mans chicane here, Ron?
See, now what I'm kind of thinking is I think this battle for the final podium spot is going to heat up more than they have the opportunity to close up to these front 2. Look at that. That's
Casey going defensive.
Yeah, very defensive, heading off into turn number 6. That's exactly what I'm worried about in this battle. It's going to be music to the ears of Will Pierre. Maybe not music to the ears of Michelle Squirek, as her main sparring partner at the very end is going to be out of it. So let's see how this is going to shake out in this battle up at the front. A 1-second gap between Squirek and Knight. The draft in these cars is insane, but 1 second is really pushing it. I don't think they're getting the draft. I think these 2 may have to fend it out for themselves.
I think they're going to. That gap is closing, but it's not closing quick enough. If we look back there's the bus stop move I was talking about. It's going to get crazy through here.
Whoa.
Casey Knight went defensive loss, but it looks like Dmitry may have to serve a slowdown there. He got way off. Michelle Squirek with the slowdown. Will Pierre just won this race.
Will Pierre wins this race. Where's Michelle Squirek going to finish? Look at the pack right behind. That is pure pandemonium. Miles Crab, Dmitry Lukinov, Casey Knight, and David Finch all going to be smelling blood in the water as Michelle Squirek served that slowdown. Pierre's going to win, but who's going to ride out the podium?
Here comes Michelle. She's a sitting duck. They're going to split left, right, center. That's going to be 4 wide. They wreck. They wreck. The two teammates go into each other. I think she had a little bit of help there, maybe from Antonio Reese. We'll have to go back and look at that. That is not how you want to end a race, Ron.
Oh, that was just about what I expected, though. Multiple racers converging in on 1 point. That was just about how it was going to end, really. That's what you get at the end of these races. Close quarter stuff, hard racing. Sometimes it boils over, and that's exactly what happened there. Got to load up a replay to see the cacophony of things that went wrong here. Really all started with that slowdown from Michelle Squires, and from there, just broke out into chaos. Credit where credit is due, though, to Will Pierre. Up 8 spots from where he started in this race. He walks away with the win. Meanwhile, a little bit farther behind, Caden Parks Miller with a damaged, battered, and bruised number 14 car. Gonna be your hard charger in this race, up 27 spots from where he started. And shout out as well to Caleb Pocock in the driver of the number 88 car.
Yes.
He jumped up 18 spots from the drop of the green through to the fall to checkered. But I'm gonna have to load up a replay here, probably several, because we had an insane end to this race.
Yeah, and real quick, Brandon Carl up 23 as well. Another great drive by Brandon Carl to finish in P19. But yeah, we have to see what happened here. Was this? Oh, this was Finch on her outside. We can see this coming with Michelle being as slow as she is. Did Casey go low? Oh man, that's just. They came together there. I wonder if Casey was trying to get a bit of side draft there. And it does look like Dimitri turned Casey into the side of Michelle, takes out both of those beautiful paint jobs in one. Michelle was able to cross the line, but Casey was not. She had to actually tow back to the pits. All of that hard work for nothing, Ron.
Yeah, and let's take a look at this in half speed, because the first angle really didn't do it justice. You can see that's Miles Crab pulling down to the inside. Lukanov trying to get the side draft there. The contact is made. Touches the back of Casey Knight, who spins into Michelle Squires. Lukanov, unfortunate moment for all of those racers. The thing about Daytona is, despite the fact this is a super wide racetrack, in a battle like that real estate space runs out very, very quickly. You think about a track like Daytona, super wide. Here, on the other hand, rather narrow, and you have moments like that from time to time. Unfortunate for all of them, but hey, it's just a product of close battling right at the end of a Daytona race. We're going to get those race results loaded up for you in a couple of moments' time. Heartbreaker for those drivers, but jubilation for others.
Yeah, absolutely. Will Pierre, again, we did mention him, up 8 positions, takes the win tonight. Pretty handily, actually, after Michelle Squires got that slowdown through the Mama chicane. Miles Crab comes home in P2. Dmitry Lukanov maybe having a bit of a chat with some stewards later in P3. David Finch in P4. Antonio Reese-Guinea in 5th place. Let's go, Hulkonio. How many positions did you gain, Antonio? Gained 5. Great drive from Antonio. Michelle Squires loses 4, but comes home P6. She was able to drive her car across the line, at least. Joshua Justice comes home P7. Profits a bit from that last, I won't even call it a corner, from the front straight drama. Kyle Robertson, P8. Byron Hayes in P9. P10, Matt Thompson to round out your top 10. Freddie Weaver in P11. Sean Doyle, 12th. Caleb Pocock comes home 13th. Parks Miller in 14th. Heffron, Sanchinelli, Sherman, and Russell round out your top 18.
Now looking through the rest of the field, we've got a whole lot of drivers to go through here. You can see the rest of them slotted intel. Let me see if I can roll this back a little bit. Brandon Carl in P19, LaShawn Young Dilworth in 20th, John A. Casey in 21st, TJ Yankee in 22nd, Mike Key in 23rd, Trent Kramer in 24th, Joe Cicchetti in P25, Aaron Bray in 26th, Joaquin Effinger in 27th, Lucas Bachman in P28, Tom Went in 29th, Casey Waters finishes in 30th, Rick Washone in 31st, Charles Bowley in 32nd, Casey 9 33rd, Zachary Miller in 34th, Charles Bowley yet again in P35. Give me a case of that double vision. Seth Spolman classed in P36 with Stevie Ray, Jacob Schilling, Chuck Labano, Miles Brown, Thomas Froling, Jason Greider, and Joe Camilleri completing the drivers that are classified in this race. That's race 1 action here from the MX-5s. We got a spec racer Ford race to touch on here in a few moments time, but Adam, what a way to get this season up and rolling.
Yeah, I don't know if there's ever been a Spec 5 race at Daytona that I haven't seen something like that happen. It sucks for Casey Knight. She's now sitting in the chat. Yeah, your luck did suck just a little bit there, Casey. And also to the people watching and commenting, Aiken and Brian Belansky, thank you guys so much for tuning in and commenting. But yeah, this is exactly what I expected it to be. It wasn't nearly as bad, though, I will say. That final lap, though, it's always going to happen like that. Congrats to Will Pierre for taking the win. Being safe is a big deal here, and you can tell that it just worked out for him.
And that it certainly did. And now we got the Spec Racer Ford race to look ahead to. So we're going to take a quick little break, hear some fantastic music in the process, and look at the thumbnail for a little bit. And we'll be back with the Spec Racer Ford race coming up here in a few moments' time here on Slow Motion Broadcasting for the Group 1 action from the season opener for the Ray Esports Club Racing League.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to still Group 1 racing, but we are not in the Miatas this time, but I will not bore you with the boring details of the track. If you didn't hear me the first time, you probably don't want to go back and listen to it, but it's there for you. At the beginning of what we had an absolutely amazing race in the Miatas. You should probably go back and watch it, but don't go back and watch it till we're done here because we're going to have a lot more of the same of what we just saw. We are in with the Spec Racer Fords around Daytona Road. Again, I am joined by the one, the only, I'm going to call him beautiful this time. Ron, you are beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. Me too. We have some drivers that are very recognizable if you watch the Weekend Warriors. And speaking of one of those recognizable drivers, Trenton Kramer, we will go on board with him. We'll see if he completes another lap. Hopefully he's not already on his second one. Is he? No, he's not. He's about to be on his first one here going through the Le Mans chicane. This is so hard for me not to call it the bus stop, but I'm going to keep fumbling over that all night. Now, going down into what's going to be turn 12 and turn 13, and we'll stay on board with Mr. Kramer while we get you a lap around this racetrack. And Ron, we can talk about our day while Trent gets to the line with how long it takes him to get there. I promise you it will not be this boring in the race. And when you're on board with Trenton Kramer, it's never boring. Anything can happen. But here we go. Going in down across the start-finish line here right now. He runs a 207.899. Is he going to keep going for one more? It looks like he is. Again, the same issue we're going to have. We saw with the Miatas. You can see how the track camber's out there for turn 1, but he handles that beautifully. Now going through turn 2, and he's going to be doing that everything just the same now through the International Horseshoe. Technically, turn 3. That's not actually a turn name or a turn number here, but it is turn 3 for references of the fact that we're going to go through the dog leg, also known as turn 4. Again, these spec racers, you can see Trent getting as far to the outside as he can. Moves are possible through there, not recommended. Now going in through the west horseshoe of turn 5. Again, an easy place. We saw a lot of people go wide there just a few minutes ago. It's crazy, by the way, how quick they got those Miatas off the track and the Spec Racer Fords on the track, but I digress. Now going through turn 6 and turn 7 on to the super speedway part of the racetrack here. Through turn 8, also known as turn 1 of the super speedway, but turn 8 for how we want to call it, and turn 9. And I lied to all the viewers and the watchers of the last race. They actually do have 2 different corner names or corner numbers even on the road course section of this track. So now through turn 9 down the quote unquote backstretch. See when he breaks. There's a 2 board. There's the 1 board. Wow, he broke in between the 2 and the 1. He's using up as much of the curb as he can. We saw a lot of slowdowns here. Not as much chaos as I thought we would see, but we did see some. Doesn't look like he got a slowdown, though. Trent may be on for a flyer as these Spec Racer Ford tires heat up. They get real quick, but you cannot put any more power into them, unfortunately, as you're driving down the straightaway. So Trent really has to hope he had a good middle sector through that infield section of the track. You can see him. He must have had a good one. He's hugging that yellow line, Ron, coming to the start-finish line.
And for Trenton Kramer, currently slotted in P8 at the moment in this qualifying session, what can he do as he comes across the line? He goes to the pole. That was the right time at the right time there for Kramer. Jumps up to a 206.8. Holds on to that top spot in this qualifying session. Nicholas Rice-Puto, who set in a time a few moments ago. Nice to see him back out here on the racetrack in the Ray Esports world. He's slotted in P2. Antonio Reese, usual standout star over on the Weekend Warriors side of things, is currently slotted slotted in P3. Gianni Maioro is qualified in 4th. Christopher Hamilton in 5th. Josh Justice in 6th. A lot of these racers have already gotten their qualifying times on the board right in this qualifying session. Miles Crabb slotted in P7. Scott Russell, Casey Knight, and now Will Pierre, your winner in the first race of the evening in those MX-5s, rounding out your top 10 with only 20 seconds left to go here in this qualifying session. Do want to say this is the first time I think that I have done this in my producing and commentating career. I had my mic muted, and that was brought out by Mr. Joshua Wilkie, who even in his sleepy stupor, recovering from foot surgery, wishing Josh nothing but the best. He was going to be with us in the commentary booth here today, but fate had other plans. He noted that I couldn't hear nobody could hear me, which may have actually been a blessing in disguise. People usually pray for moments like that, but let's take a look at the starting grid for this second race of the evening here.
Yeah, and it's going to be Trenton Kramer starting in P1. Nicholas Rice-Puto starting right beside him in P2. Antonio, Mr. Hulkonio, he's going to be one to watch out for in P3. Gianni Mairo in P4. Chris Hamilton, P5. Josh Justice in P6. Josh Justice, again, the sponsor for tonight's race. Thank you, Josh. Miles Crabb, P7. Scott Russell, P8. Casey Knight, P9. And Will Pierre rounding out your top 10. Matt Thompson and Chuck Labano, P11 and P12.
Then looking through the next page, we got Rick was shown after the disappointment in that MX-5 race. Going to start this race in lucky number P13. John Vogel going to join him on that 7th row. It's going to be David Fench starting alongside Seth Spolman in P15 and P16. Jacob Schilling will start in 17th alongside Edgar Sancinelli. Frito lining up in 18th. Brad Cathcart will start right behind in 19th alongside series admin and namesake Mr. Stevie Ray. Charlie Vaccaro will start in 21st after a Masters win a few weeks ago in the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors. He'll start alongside Eric Yagel on row number 11. Freddie Weaver will start this race in P23 with Mark Sherman completing that page.
Yeah, take a breath, Ron. Michelle Squirick starting in 25th. Aaron Bray, 26. Connor Kelleher in 27th. Sorry, Connor, if I messed that up. I think I got pretty close. Brandon Carl in 28th. Joaquin Effinger in 29th with Tom Wint rounding out your top 30. Joe Sacchetti, Thomas Bachman, Mike Key, Caleb Pocock, and Corey Heffron ran out your 35-car field. And still quite a few cars. And these spec racers, Ron, I wanted to talk about this before we go green. We're about to go through the Le Mans chicane now. They can also bump, but they don't bump as well. You got to be super careful with the front end of these. They are very aero dependent, and it will hurt your top speed if you're not careful.
Yeah, and one drum that I've always beat when it comes to draft-heavy races where you got to do a bit of bump drafting here in these Spec Racer Fords, of course, the aero balance up at the front, very important for the flat-out blast, but you also have to worry about the mailbox slot at the front end of the car. Someone may be looking at that and wondering, what is it for? Is it for roadkill to hop into so you don't kill a squirrel? No, it's for the cooling on these race cars. Very, very thin mailbox slot up at the front to keep these engines cool. If there's any sort of damage on the front of that, these race cars may have a bit of overheating issues to worry about. Looking at the weather, it's not exactly the most burning hot day, but it's not exactly cool either. As you can see, 88 degrees for that track temperature. But here we go, about to get the second race of the evening up and rolling here, Adam.
Here we go. Trent Kramer starting on the inside. Nicholas Rice-Puto starting on the outside. Trent gets a jump. He does not wait for the green flag. That may have been the move to not go too wide into turn one, but now there is going to be a gaggle of cars behind him. Rice-Puto now getting swallowed up. Antonio Reese up into P2. Rice-Puto cannot hold it around the outside. Watch out for Joshua Justice there on the inside as well, trying to get around Rice-Puto. Looks like they all get through that okay. I see nothing on our timing telling us otherwise. Oh, right as I said that. See, that's what happened. Seth Spolman off track. Looks like Caleb Pocock off the track as well. Losing a bit of time. Look at that timing tower. Oh, no. Who is that? Is that Antonio Reese Spence? Oh, my goodness. It's carnage back there, Ron.
Oh, pure unbridled pandemonium!
Oh, my goodness.
Goodness gracious, indeed. That could have ended in disaster about 15 more times than it already did. Antonio spinning around as he headed his way out of the first horseshoe. He's going to drop down like a stone thrown into a pond, now down in P33. Heartbreaking stuff for him and many other racers getting struck by that falling anvil quite early on here. Trent Kramer, meanwhile, going to use that to his advantage to jump out into the race lead, a comfortable gap between himself and Gianni Maioro. It's Josh Justice, the sponsor of today's show, currently going side by side with Nicholas Rice Pudo as they head their way on the high banks for the first time.
Yeah, Justice went high there. That was a weird spot. Oh, I wonder if Justice was getting behind him because he wants to show Nicholas that they can get back up there to the lead. Looks like Hamilton's going to be working with Justice as well. This is a 3-car battle, and this is going to get backed up to the front very quickly. Look at that gap. Down.
Whoa!
Oh, no. Oh, no. Josh misjudged the braking just a little bit. Look at all the front end damage there, and this is what we were talking about, Ron.
Yeah, and that is so easy to have happen here in these Spec Racer Fords. They're pretty much open wheel cars that have body panels put all over them to turn them into prototype machines. Small little bit of contact can be made. The wheels, even when the front clips are looking totally fine, there can be a little bit of overlap, but that is a huge amount of wheels sticking out for Josh Justice. That's going to ruin his straight line speed, really end his race before it even got up and rolling. Nicholas Rice Pudo dropping down. He's on the outside of some 3-wide action as he's trying to serve off that slowdown. Drops down nearly outside the top 10 as the likes of Jacob Schilling, Brad Cathcart, Josh Justice, and others running right behind in tow. Look at that. That could have been disaster there. Yaggle, the Cookie Monster car, looking to pick up the crumbs.
Yeah, it looks like he may be able to salvage this yet. The cars haven't spread out far enough to really cause any concern. Trent Kramer, though, goes right around the inside of Gianni Maioro, and I wonder if something happened to Gianni there because he lost a lot of time going through turn 1. He's still on the inside. They're going a bit defensive. If he goes defensive again and these guys try to go too wide, Trent Kramer may have a chance to pull this out enough to actually pull away, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Gianni still staying in P2, Chris Hamilton in P3, Will Pierre in P4, but it's gaggling up just a little bit there. And look at the driver that had her luck absolutely shattered, her race shattered on the final lap of the Miata race up there in P5. Do not count her out, Ron.
Yeah, you can't count Casey Knight out at all. That was a tongue twister for me to say. I am grateful that I got it out in the right order on the first and only attempt. But Casey Knight holding on to P5, already up 4 spots from where she started in this race. Looking through the field, we have already had drivers scythe their way through the running order.
Yes.
We'll throw some love to a driver who cut his way through the field like a knife through hot butter earlier. It's Caleb Pocock.
Look at him go. He's still going.
Yeah, he's still trying to get some moves done. Currently up 15 spots. Going to try and make that 16 in the not too far off future. As right in front of him, you can see is... oh, no!
Oh, my goodness gracious. Ron, you may be the best producer I think we've ever had. You know where to go to the crashes. Are you a psychic? You're a psychic, aren't you, Ron? But anyways, Aaron Bray now falling down the field. How in the world did he get through that?
Holy cow!
My goodness gracious. And back up to the front now. It looks like Casey Knight is already tired of waiting around. She does lose, kind of like what happened the first time, back into P5 again. Watching Chris Hamilton, though, up 1. Casey Knight up 4. Will Pierre, where did he come from? He's up 9 positions.
Oh, Trent Kramer goes for a dive off into the horseshoe. I'm not sure if the noise that came out of my mouth was registered on the microphone. It sounded like a howling werewolf as they had their way off into turn number 3. Kramer and everybody in this front pack fight going for some insane lunges, insane dives, and we're barely even 5 minutes into this race. Look at Pierre goes down the inside. Meanwhile, Maiora going to follow in suit. Kramer gets oh so flirtatious with that outside grass. He's now going to have to slip back in tow. Says, yo, I'm going to hold off for now in all of this drama. It's been a hectic and chaotic start in this race. Michelle Squire, want to throw some love to her. She is up 16 spots where she started in this race. Where did she come from indeed?
Yeah, unbelievable drive so far by Michelle Squire on the screen right now. I do want to talk about Trent going through the West Horseshoe. I don't know how he held onto that car. He was full opposite lock to the left. By the way, it's a right-hand corner. You don't want to be turning left. Trent Kramer somehow able to hold on to it. But again, to Michelle Squire, now up 16 into P9. Unbelievable drive by her, going through the Le Mans Horseshoe. They're acting like it's the final lap of the race already. We're only 6 minutes into this, Ron.
Oh, you know, these racers, genuinely do not fear death at certain points in time. I think that's certainly proving it right now. Mayora and Pierre going side by side, which compared to the bout of 4-wide racing we had nearly a lap ago, that may have a repeat. We may have a sequel on our hands, folks. They're 3-wide still. That's Christopher Hamilton getting a bump from Trent Kramer. They're going to power their way up to the front. Look at Will Pierre. He's going to be stuck with, I believe that's...
Look at Trent going for the move.
Kramer gonna dive down to the inside. Here we go. He's cutting shapes. Everybody's cutting shapes at the moment. This is madness. No. That's a driver spirit off the track. That's Christopher Hamilton. He went so far off the track, I think he nearly ended up in Orlando.
I think he might have wanted to end up in Orlando to cover his eyes after the embarrassment of missing the corner by that much going into T1. That was not helped at all by Trent Kramer saying, I'm going to push you as fast as I can, and then good luck getting on the brakes, buddy. Trent back up into P1. Looks like he's able to hold on to it, though. Still able to hold on just at the back there in P5 at the moment. Looking at Nicholas Rice-Puto, though, after all of the drama that happened at the start, you can see he has got a crumpled-up race car from Antonio Reese spinning, going through the International Horseshoe, but still doing okay. And look who's right behind him, Matt Thompson, a Spec Racer Ford guy in the Weekend Warriors on Sundays. He's a regular, and he's quick, Ron.
Oh, he is super, super quick. He's in contention for another championship in Spec 2. He's really been in the fight for the past couple of seasons. Nice to see him out here on the racetrack here in the Ray Esports Club Racing League, and you'll be able to catch all the action here on slow motion broadcasting with the drama and the chaos that we've had in this race. If that doesn't give you a good reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on the racing action, I really don't know what would. We can bring this great racing. If you want more than this, you should probably go see a movie, because this is insanity. Looking at the battling up in the front, Mayoro and Will Pierre were side by side. Mayoro and Kramer were side by side, and they're going to have a repeat of it. Look at Kramer fighting back. They're going to be side by side as they head their way back up onto the high banks. Look at Mayoro to drop down. No assistance on that high side. He's going to dip back in tow. Look at the clearance on that. Practically nothing to the back of Trent Kramer's car. These two go work together and power their way past Will Pierre as if he's standing still, and even Casey Knight going to jump ship there.
And here we go again. Look at this. This happened. Trent said, okay. Looks like maybe Gianni may have seen what happened there. Gianni pushes Trent up into the lead for half a second and then just goes to the inside. But look out. That's 3 wide. That's not going to work at all, Ron. Oh, my goodness gracious.
Oh, I feel bad for my desk. I just pounded the thing about 5 times as I was trying to take a sip of water. Bad call from me, because these racers are giving us not a single point to even breathe, let alone take a sip of our broadcaster water. Will Pierre with the lockup hang down to the horseshoe, and here comes Kramer fighting back. Miles Crab sets a fast lap of the race at 2:06.3. He's down in P24 after the drama early on, but never mind that. We got side-by-side battling still for P2. Mayoro driving off into the sunset. Pierre and Kramer duke it out, so close to contact. Pierre gonna carry too much speed. He keeps it close to the apex, but Kramer gonna fight back in tow. Looking right behind, that's Christopher Hamilton and Casey Knight duking out for the spots right behind. Those two holding on to the final 2 spots in the top 5. And look right behind, Nicholas Rice-Puto in a car that looks about as ready for the scrap heap as you can imagine. Look at the back left corner of that race car. It is shrunk in by probably about 1.5 feet, but he is still holding on to P6 as Rick was shown looking to fight back after the disappointment in that MX-5 race right behind. And Matt Thompson, who maybe has a little bit of front end damage on that race car because he hasn't been able to reel in these two too much, but he is still in that somewhat seasonally appropriate green and purple race car. Happy Halloween this Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of wondering what's going up here at the front. I don't know what's going on. They are not wanting to work together really at all. You see Trent diving down whenever he gets the chance. He's really not doing much pushing, and now he is. Now he's holding on to the back of Will Pierre, going to absolutely freight train Yanni. Yanni's probably going to fall back to P4. Not probably. He will fall back to P4. Casey Knight not close enough to be able to help him at all. At least down to P4 now here for Yanni. Now let's see what Trent does. Is he just going to hang out behind him this time? And it looks like he might. They may have learned their lessons after the first few. Where did Yanni? That is below the yellow line. Stewards may have something to say about that. That is not what you want to do. My goodness Gracious, Trent gets loose too. He gets into the grass on the inside, somehow holds onto it. 3 wide now, going through turn 2. Don't want to do that either. They all somehow find a way to get back together, kind of back in line. Is still a bit out of line, and Yanni right now 0.8 of a second, almost ahead. That's not going to be enough, but he's close to getting out of that slipstream range.
I'm not sure what the onomatopoeia that it was coming out of my mouth as they had their way down into turn number 1 there. It sounded like as close as I could get to a quiet blood-curdling scream, but that's pretty much the only reaction I have to these racers duking it out as hard as they are. Look at the side-by-side racing that we've got going on throughout this field. The top 5, we've documented
Yes.
throughout a vast majority of this race. The action's so strong. We've had so much of it. I'm getting the hiccups. We got this battle a little bit farther behind. Rice Pudo, Thompson, and was shown. We got a battle a little bit farther behind involving Josh Justice with that slightly wounded number 99 car after the contact a little bit
Hang on to him real quick.
Everybody's duking it out.
And that is glorious. Never mind. Well, we can go back up here to the front. Back here to Josh Justice. There in the top right. Great timing, kind of. Our producer almost had it. Just kidding, Ron. Love you. Josh Justice is, again, the sponsor for tonight's race. And Josh Justice Enterprises does computer consulting out of Parker County, Texas. They are now actively accepting contracts for software development, DevOps, spreadsheet design, databases, software consulting, geospatial, and more. Again, any computer stuff, basically, is what I said in the first one. I'll say it again. Go find Josh Justice. That may be a slowdown for him as we were on board.
Yeah, I think that whack of the curb as he headed his way off through the Le Mans chicane, it didn't give him a slowdown, but definitely shook up his car's motherboard, so he may have to do his own work to fix that car, as here we go, once again, 5 cars covered by nothing, and that's Trent Kramer trying to take the race lead from Casey Knight, who briefly jumped up to it. Mayoro has found a nice little niche on that apron. The thing is, on iRacing, they don't really enforce that double yellow line the way that they do in real life qualifying. Meanwhile, if you run down there, you gotta pick up a slowdown. Mayora, though, able to master the run all through the trial while running down onto the bottom of the racetrack. It's maybe gonna be the call that potentially gets him into victory lane if he can set himself up well for that a little bit later on in this event. But as we keep tabs on this battle, still want to jump to one a little bit farther behind involving Edgar Sancinelli. He's got a battle with himself, Jacob Schilling, Chuck Labano, and Scott Russell, all covered by nothing. And who's at the front of it? It's Brad Cathcart.
Yeah, Brad Cathcart. Look at him up there in P12 at the moment, doing a great job. Been a long time since I've seen Brad on track. That Aussie is still doing great, even though he's upside down. They're in P11 at the moment. Josh oh my goodness gracious, trying to take P11 away, from Edgar Sancinelli. Edgar doing a great job holding on to that spot, and there is a battle. There are battles all over this track that we really can't quite cover all of them, but Brad is doing the best he can. Now back here to Connor Kelleher with Antonio and Sherman. Antonio has bounced back the best he can, back up into P17, doing an okay job.
Yeah, Antonio, even with that spin a little bit earlier on, he has cut his way back through the field to jump his way up into 17. Even though he dropped down like an anvil push out of a helicopter, he's been able to cut his way up through the field once again. So, it's looking quite good for Antonio. Don't tell me he's going to stick a 3 wide heading down the back straightaway. You got the real estate space all through the straight. Don't have it here, though. And that's going to be the reason why they all single file out. Connor Kelleher holding on to P14. Scott Russell running right in tow. Antonio Reese completing this 3-car pack that we have up at the north end. As speaking of the north end of the field,
yeah, where did Gianni go? Yeah, let's talk about Pandemonium. We're going to have to get this one back. Yanni, the guy that was cutting below the yellow line, which I might make a bit of a spicy comment here. Probably not the best idea to do. I know a lot of leagues don't like when you cut below the yellow line. Oh, he has massive front end damage. When I say massive, there is no front clip left on that car.
Yeah, so you can tell it's a big impact based off the fact the front clip has been completely removed off that race car, as probably being sold on eBay as we speak, or whatever online retailer you personally prefer. Facebook Marketplace, we'll just say. Gianni Mayoro, let's see exactly what happened. Heading down here, was a contact heading down to the bus stop? Have a feeling it may have been. Side-by-side racing with himself and Will Pierre. Runs good through there. Might have been a clip of the curb on the exit. Yes, it was. And bang! Huge hit into the safer barrier.
Man, that is extremely unfortunate. We saw Justice get away with it when we were riding on board with him. Yanni, I'm going to say Yanni. It might just the luck of the draw, just the way that the iRacing physics work for Yanni were unfortunate, but still, actually, not still. Will Pierre and Trent Kramer are starting to work together here. Looks like Christopher Hamilton and Casey Knight are spread out just a little bit more. This might work in Trent and Will's favor. Look, that gap is actually growing for the first time I've ever seen down the front stretch in this race, Ron.
Yeah, I think they're not out of the woodwork just yet, but if they can extend that gap to about a second, that may be the time that these two realize, okay, we're all on our own. We can battle it out. Similar situation to what Will Pierre found himself in the first race here this evening in those MX-5s. It was pretty much divide and conquer. This time, however, instead of being with Michelle Squire, who still putting on a good performance, slotted in P21, but has dropped down. There may have been some drama with her that we didn't quite catch on our camera. See, the thing is, it may seem like I'm jittering around quite a lot. I produced the last broadcast here on SMB less than 24 hours ago. There's only so much you could do with 33 Spec Racer Fords, or in the case of the race earlier, 40 MX-5s. We basically have to be like a chameleon, looking at about 16 different things at once to really bring all the action to life. These drivers are bringing the thunder here at Daytona. That's usually disaster for the ovals, but here on the road course, I like the thunder they're bringing. It sounded nice. That's looking good in the sky.
Speaking of being a chameleon, we're going to do something here, Ron, and I hope it's okay with Mr. Stevie, but I want to highlight P number 33, Mike Key. Normally, the drivers in the back don't really get any love, but we are going to look at Mike Key. Mike, this is your time to shine. Please just keep it on the racetrack. Mike Key hasn't gained any. He hasn't lost any. You want to talk about consistency, Ron? Mike Key is the definition of consistency.
Yeah, Mike Key running there, still keeping it clean in this race, and one of only...
Very clean car as well.
Yeah, very, very clean race. That is a rarity here in this field. I'm looking through as well, another rarity. The only other racer in this entire pack who is running the exact same spot that they started this race in is Eric Yagel here in the Cookie Monster car. That car's already a little bit battered up the front. I feel bad.
There are a lot of Cookie Monsters up there.
Oh, yeah, that we do. I think that's, is that Mark Sherman there in the other Cookie Monster car? Yes, it is, in the number 35. So, one Cookie Monster has been able to take some crumbs thus far in this race. Unfortunately for Eric Yogel, based off the way the front end of his car looks, as we'll jump to this back shot with Caleb Pocock. Yeah, you can see the front end of that car right behind the 236. Unfortunately for Eric Yagel, I think the crumbs have bit back.
Yeah, and it looks about like the Cookie Monster's eyes there. He's actually his eyes are pointing the same way as... Oh, my God! What?
Oh.
My goodness, I have never seen curve physics like that on iRacing. We are going to have to go back and watch that. Caleb Pocock just got launched to the stratosphere by a curb. That was insane.
I never in my life. We're taking a look at this from the gyro cam. This has got to be a horrifying view. He goes for the dive, heading off into the Le Mans chicane. We talked about these reimagined curbs. Hit him. Oh, he was a matter of millimeters from flipping that car. You know who had to have had a terrifying perspective and all of that? It was Eric Yagel. Yeah.
Yes.
The Cookie Monster probably just saw his cookie life flash right before his very eyes. Let's see this. This has got to be a terrifying view. You don't usually want to see the underside of a race car right around you, and oh my goodness gracious.
Jeez. Well, Eric, again, gets through that. Speaking of consistency, he's able to get through that. Caleb Pocock, not so lucky. You can tell he lost the back end of that car before he even got to turn 10, the beginning of the Le Mans chicane. So I think that probably helped catapult that car up, almost over, but did not quite do that. And let's talk about the pack back at the front. I thought Trent and Will might have been able to get away from Christopher Hamilton. I was wrong. They have caught him. This has now turned into a 4-car battle for the win of this race with less than 10 minutes left.
As we see this field continue to whittle the laps away, getting into the final 10 minutes, I gotta wonder who is going to be the one to pounce. Will it be anybody?
Did you just see Trent catch that curb? That was another close call. Trent's left front, the whole left side of that car got way up in the air. Again, we saw this last race, Ron. They're going to start using those curbs more and more and more. We have to watch out for what happened to Caleb Pocock, but we also have to watch out for those slowdowns getting into these final minutes.
This is just pure unbridled pandemonium. Every single time we take a look at these racers duking it out for the spots, we always expect, okay, maybe they're going to take it easy. They're not. They're not going to take it easy. They're racing drivers. They're always going to push the limits of control, which, hey, from our perspective in the broadcast booth, we're certainly not going to turn that down one bit. That is Will Pierre. He had to have had the hands of a ninja to keep that car going in a straight line.
Wow. I mean, again, I actually drove with Trent and Jason Green last night, and once these cars, you start to lose the rear end, it is almost impossible to save it. Not only does he lose it once, he loses it twice and keeps going. Now just got to watch the tire heat in those rears just for a couple corners. Once he gets to the straightaway, they should all equalize again, but it's going to be tough for him here. Oh, speaking of tire heat, Christopher Hamilton gets a little bit loose in front of him.
Yeah, right as I was going to try and jump on board with Will Pierre to see exactly how he manages the overheating tires in that Spec Racer Ford, we see Hamilton with a bit of a wiggle doing a raise. We talked about this right before the start of this race, but we'll bring it up right here on screen for all of you here. Looking at the track temperatures, 91 degrees Fahrenheit, I think is right at the lower end of getting a bit on the greasy end. 75 ambient, that is looking pretty all right. I mean, I know up here in the city of Philadelphia, we're looking at 52 at the current moment, at least according to my computer's information.
Ooh.
But holy cow, the racing out there is hot. The track is hot. There's a lot of hot things going on out here. These races have been the jalapenos.
Oh my goodness, Trent is using all of those curbs and he's getting away with it so far. I'm just gonna have to keep an eye every time I see Trent's car bouncing around on those curbs at the Le Mans chicane. It scares me just a little bit, but Will Pierre does get the move done on Trent, and now Trent sitting back in P3. Trent not waiting around either. He doesn't even want to try to push Will back up to the back. Look at this side draft actually working for Trent. Holy moly!
Holy guacamole, he's going to jump his way up into the race lead if he can keep that momentum rolling. Will Pierre and Christopher Hamilton, they're side by side, so it's 3 wide racing as we add our way out of the tri-oval, down onto the apron, into the braking zone of turn number 1. Pierre going to jump up into that spot. Look at Christopher Hamilton and Trent Kramer continue to duke it out right behind Pierre. Going to utilize that opportunity, and we're going to utilize this opportunity to run on board with him and look behind so you can see all that chaos going on. Pierre has got probably the worst seat in the house. I mean, he's got the best seat in the house in terms of doing well, but the worst seat in terms of seeing the action. All he can look at is his rearview mirrors to see those racers duke it out all through the first horseshoe.
And he's going to be looking in that rearview mirror more and more and more as the time closes in. We do have a wreck here from Matt Thompson going a bit slow. See what happened to Matt. Still sitting in P6. That tells you he does. There's quite a bit of a big gap between 6th, 7th, or 8th and 9th as well. What happens to Matt going through the international horseshoe now? Does he lock the rears up? Looks like he does, and it just starts to go around. Remember what I said about trying to save those cars once they start spinning, Ron? Case in point.
You just can't do it. You simply cannot. And certainly proved that right there. Got a bit too much speed hang down in there, and it's pretty much just a one-way ticket to disaster befalling you. So, bit of a shame for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Stevie Ray in the chat as well. Looks like Papa Ron in the chat. Looking here at Josh's comment, he did almost kickflip it. That was a good one, Josh. Trent back around the outside, going through the Le Mans chicane. You called it the bus stop earlier, Ron. You were wrong, by the way. But going through the Le Mans chicane, Will Pierre back in P2. Looks like Trent is not making any friends at the moment. Looks like Christopher Hamilton actually up there trying to push Will Pierre up there to P3, into P1. Trent falls back to P3. I want to talk about Casey Knight. Let's talk about her. She's been sitting back there quiet. No more, Ron. She's going for the move around the outside.
As you can see, it's very close right behind. That could end in tears as they're very, very close to just huddled all around that apron. Who's going to win out in this battle, though? Will it be Casey Knight? Saw her go for a similar move around the outside, hang down to turn number 1 a little bit earlier, and Deja Vu backs out of it. I think that's a smart call, though, really, as we get into the final, and now officially in the final 5 minutes, coming up to the final 4 minutes of this race. I can't necessarily say it's a bad call for Casey Knight to say, you know what? I'm just going to let everybody battle in front, and when chaos and pandemonium breaks out, I'll be there to pick up all the pieces. I mean, hey, we speak about the challenge of the bus stop every single time there's a race here at
the
Daytona.
Le Mans chicane.
We speak about the challenge of the Le Mans chicane every single time we come here to Daytona, and we talked about it a lot already in the show. We've seen it a lot already in the show, whether it be the MX-5s, whether it be the Spec Racer Fords, the curbs are deadly. The track limits are deadly. If you pick up a slowdown through there, there is one word to describe how your race goes, and it is downhill. You've got yourself a real tough set of circumstances that you have to try and juggle with, going side by side and battling off into that bus stop chicane, especially as we get closer and closer to the end. Le Mans chicane is going to, it's pretty much like an act of juggling chainsaws. It's only a matter of time before you get a finger chopped off.
Yeah, exactly. And Trent is now up underneath the leader of Will Pierre there, just trying to give him a bit of a boost here. And I wonder, I'm starting to see how these guys are scheming. We saw Trent side drafting a couple laps ago from P3, able to get up into the lead before the start-finish line. We saw Casey Knight get a huge run and get up into P1 before the start-finish line. I don't know where the best spot is to be here, but they're going to have to figure it out really, really quick. Probably about 2 laps left here, Ron. Maybe, yeah, definitely 2 laps.
And the drama has been with us ever since the drop of the green flag, and we are still expecting more as we get closer and closer to the very end. For the first time in quite some time, though, these racers not going side by side off through the tri-oval. This, I think, would probably be the calm before the storm. This is where all that stillness in the air pops up, the wind dies down a little bit, and then you hear that first crack of thunder. That may be it. They're nearly 3 wide as Trent Kramer gets flirtatious with that inside grass, and he jumps down to the inside into the Air National Horseshoe to jump his way into the race lead.
Yeah, Trent just had a heck of a run coming out of turn 1 and was able to get by Will Pierre. Don't know quite what happened there. Let's see if Will lets him go or fights this back for the lead, and Will is fighting back now. Interesting strategies here and tactics. I kind of wonder what's going on. Will, oh my goodness, he had a tire off in the grass there. That would have been disaster for that top 4.
See, if it were me, I would want to be leading, heading off into the Le Mans chicane on this second to last lap. Because you think of the game of leapfrog like this. If you're leading off in there, you're probably going to get overtaken down to turn number 1. You're going to get the overtake done probably at some point in the infield. And then eventually the game of leapfrog is going to come up your way come time for that start-finish straightaway. All these racers are probably setting themselves up for the very end. See what they can do. Less than a minute to go, so they will be seeing the white flag this time by. And when we do, the level of aggression we've already seen in this race going to get cranked up. What would you say it is, Adam, right now? Probably like a brief 9, maybe an 8.
Man, we went from I'm going to say a firewall 10 down to about 5 here for the lead pack, and we have not covered really much else. That is kind of our fault, but kind of the racer's fault for making this so interesting. If it was a firewall 10, we're going to crank that puppy all the way up to 11 for this final lap. I guarantee it. Casey Knight, not even in the picture right now, but I promise you she's still there. Trent trying a bit of side drafting there to see if he's going to be able to get that win if he needs to, and it looks like you saw that mini side draft. Trent crossed the line first on the penultimate lap there, Ron.
Yeah, so there we go. One more lap of racing action, and Kramer maybe giving us a preview as to how the finish is going to look like here. He holds on to the race lead, though, as they had their way down into turn number 3. Look at Will Pierre right behind. I thought Christopher Hamilton was going to be ever the opportunist and try and get a move done as they headed their way out of the turn. Let's ride on board with him very briefly in that Core Racing number 15 car. He's going to try and duke it out. As I talk about this battle, I do want to raise that the battling right behind involving the likes of
Yes.
Matt Thompson, Rick was shown, Antonio Reese, Scott Russell, everybody in this train. It's been intense ever since the drop of the green. It's still going to be intense through to the fall of the checkered. Gonna be close, gonna be intense. We would keep an eye on it if we had multiple screens, but we've got a race up in the front still worth talking about. Kramer leads by 0.6 of a second, and they head their way out of the infield.
That is not enough. I think there's some games starting to be played here. Look at Trent going high, maybe trying to. I think he might be going high to not be in the lead coming out of the bus stop. I think he knows what's about to happen. Look at the closing rate of those drivers behind him. I wonder where Trent wants to slot in now. Here we go into the bus stop here. Trent might fight this. I don't know if he wants to be in P2, P3, but keep an eye out for Casey Knight as well in P4. She is right there. I don't know where they want to be. Trent does slot into P2. Now, is Trent going to push or is he going to go high immediately? Trent decides to push. Casey Knight's going to have to get a move on it. She's going to have to help Will Pierre get there, or Will Pierre might drag her there to the win. What's going to happen here? Trent to the outside, trying a bit of side draft. Where does Will go? Will decides to push Trent for half a second, now goes high. This is going to be a finish for the ages. Are we going to see another wreck? Here comes Casey Knight. Casey Knight might win this race. Casey Knight does win this race, Ron.
And what a battle, 4 wide, as they headed their way down into the tri-oval. What a battle back, what a fight back from Casey Knight. 8 spots gained from the drop of the green through to the fall of the checkered, as we got a battle a little bit farther behind. These are for the final spots inside the top 10. Who's going to win out in all of this? Give it to Sancinelli. He's going to hold on to P7 right behind the Russell and Reese.
Oh, my
That was a tie. They tied. Tied.
What a finish. Let's see what we got going on a little bit further back. It looks like Michelle Squirrick and Miles Crabb are going at it as well. Just a bit further back. Look at that battle again across the line. Another tie, Ron. Oh, my goodness gracious. What's going on?
Oh, and we got another photo finish. Don't tell me we got a third tie. Oh, it was 1,000th of a second between having a third tie in this race. Oh my goodness.
Brandon Carl and Joe Sacchetti come across the line 1/1000th of a second from each other. Unbelievable racing by everybody, but I do want to give a massive shout out to Casey Knight, who's already in the interview waiting area. She is pumped, especially after her first race tonight in the MX-5. Unbelievable racing here, Ron. Unbelievable.
We're going to reel this back as far as I can with the amount of contact and photo finishes and drivers banging the doors off of their race cars coming to the end of this. You can imagine that there was a lot of drama going on, and it may take a little bit to get this spooled up, but I want to see Casey Knight's perspective as they came across the line. That was a fight back. That's the only way that you could describe it. Casey Knight charged. I mean, we saw that gap as we went on to that back flat out blast for the final time. That was a significant margin that she had. So the fact that it got ate away that quickly is, I mean, that's spec racer Ford action to a T.
Yo, I mean, it is unbelievable action here, and we're watching here from, it looks like, there we go, with Casey at the moment. Now going through the international horseshoe here, and this is just watch. You can see some lockups here. Everybody's starting to get a bit feisty. She's still rolling. She's still just hanging out back there, just living her life, doing what she's got to do, right? Now we come on to what we see, what we know is going to be really the decider of this race. Trent decides to go high here. I think Trent did not want to be leading coming out of the Ron, the Le Mans chicane, not the bus stop. Get it right. Coming out of the Le Mans chicane. But here we go. Trent's going to slot himself into P2. Casey's watching all of this happen at the moment, just waiting. Look at her. She's just super patient, very patient. Doesn't even try to get side by side, just hanging out. Now, here we go, coming out of the Le Mans chicane. This is when things get wild. Trent Kramer going to push the leader at the moment of Christopher Hamilton. Will Pierre, though, hanging out back there. So you'll see Will get a little bit high, pushes Trent. I think Trent's going to win this right here. Watch Casey right now. She takes a double toe and just goes full send. Goodbye, gentlemen. I'm going to win this race. Out of here.
There it is. And that she did. She got the victory. Look at the gaps between those competitors. Christopher Hamilton, at that point in time, he was the one on the infield. He walks away with second. Will Pierre, there's him in third.
Wow.
There's Trent Kramer in fourth. I mean, how many feet do you think that is at the very end of that race?
Well, I'm going to say...
If it wasn't for Knight, I mean, that would have been probably... it was borderline between those two.
It was close. It was an awesome race. And before we go any further, I do want to go back and I do want to look at some more replays. But we do have a couple people here in the interview waiting room. And normally we would bring the winner in first. But I would like to drag Mr. Joshua Justice into the booth before we drag Casey Knight into the booth for one reason. We did not know if both of these races were going to get broadcasted tonight. And because of you, Joshua, they did. So first of all, before I say anything else, I want to thank you for your sponsorship for tonight's race. And it was a good one to sponsor. Thank you so much. Why don't you go? We're going to give you a little bit of love. What about the company here, Josh?
So basically what I'm doing is I'm creating a company that is doing software development and contract and consulting for small and medium-sized business. So if you run a small, medium-sized business and you don't really have any programmers, you don't have any kind of software people, I can do anything from, data import to spreadsheet to back-end software development to helping you get in touch with people that can set up a long-term team of software developers if that's something you're interested in. And basically the idea is if you're running a company that's not a technology company, that's not really a software company, but the fact of the matter is almost every company has something that a skilled programmer can sit there and do one or two things that just cranks up the efficiency of their company, and that's what I'm offering. So if you want to reach out to me, I'm at joshuajustice@protonmail.com. You can also reach out to me on Discord, of course, and you can get in touch with me and we can have a meeting about what your company needs and whether that's something that is really attainable without a large budget.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Joshua. Again, please reach out to him if you guys need any computer. I mean, I did this before. I'm not a big computer guy. If you guys understood half of what Joshua was saying, you probably need his help. So please reach out to Joshua. Now, I want to get to the racing, Josh. It feels like those Miatas were years ago compared to the race that we just watched, and they were both amazing races. So first of all, walk me through the Miata experience. It sounds like you were up. I know you were up. You were down. You were all over the place in the Spec 5 race.
Oh yeah, I mean, I didn't have as much practice in the Miata. I wouldn't like. I had so much stuff going on that week. But basically, I had bad qualifying. But like everything else we do, once I get in the draft, I'm killer in the draft. And I just climbed through the field. I think at one point I had a fast lap. And it was just, I climbed through the field, I got moved down. I had to give up a couple places. I climbed up past 5 more people, get moved down again. And in the end, I was side by side with someone. I forget who it was a green car. We were, battling side by side across the line, tons of fun. Getting a pet racer, and I qualified, I think, sixth. I'm very competitive, and I was in a draft going into the bus stop, and I just caught the corner of Nick's car breaking into the bus stop. I wasn't trying to make a move on him. I wanted to get in line, but the car behind me, I didn't have feet to get in line, so I was trying to angle the gap, kind of.
Yep.
And I just kind of miscalculated and got the back of him. And that damaged my car, and even though I had to pay, I just couldn't, when you're going 5 miles an hour or around the oval part of the track, you're never gonna catch up.
No.
So, every time I got behind somebody, I was able to draft them and put them, and we could run good lap. And then both times they spun on the same corner in the infield, the first horseshoe. And I was like, dang it. Now we're behind, I got 5 seconds behind. When I'm running a second lower lap on the oval, or 2 seconds lower on the oval, but a second faster in the infield. 4 or 5 laps go by, they kept me, and then we end up with, 6 cars bowing across the line. I just pick somebody and try to push and maybe squeeze out one extra position and get second 3 wide.
Yeah, that was a crazy finish to that race, and I do want to kind of talk to you a bit about that bus stop incident. I know, especially there, I saw what you were trying to do. I know you weren't trying to go for the move. Was there, I mean, when you're carrying draft, what is the speed difference, first of all? And you guys are in so close quarters. It's so tough to judge the braking of the car ahead of you. I know these cars have brake lights, but that doesn't help when you're only millimeters away from the car ahead.
No, because if you respond to the brake, it's already too late. You'll get the back of the guy because you're already like an inch away. And once you take into account, net code and all that, your reaction time is affecting lower by, 100 milliseconds. And at 130 miles an hour, you can go into a website and plug in how many yards that is. It's a lot.
Yes.
And so I was just trying to anticipate when he would brake. And I guess because it's lap 1 full tires, or maybe the car in front, he braked a little earlier than I was quite expecting. I wasn't approaching him at a much higher speed than him because I was lifting off and just trying to get the gap to work so we could single file through there. But I got a car on my right rear quarter and couldn't get in line. And so I'm just trying to find a spot to slow down where he can kind of come in front of me. And he did make it in front of me, but unfortunately, I hadn't slowed down enough at that point, and I got in the back of him. It's very unfortunate, very similar to the incident I had with Scott at Road Atlanta, and I'm probably going to watch the replay of both of those and see if there's later this week, see if there's anything I can learn to make that stop happening.
Well, I mean, that's all really you can do. I mean, and Josh, really, you started P6, you finished P10, you only lost 4 positions after all of that. So your pace was there. I know you said you were about 2 seconds a lap slower with the damage and the clean air, but you were able to hook up, and really, still a top 10 finish is a great finish for you. Is there anybody you want to thank or shout out before we let you go?
Well, really, I want to shout out everybody that showed up because, the Discord server was fairly quiet. And so I was worried that we would have low participation this season because, it wasn't like we were having a whole bunch of shadows in Discord in the past week or 2, right? Mm-hmm. But instead, we had 30 to 40 people show up for both races. That excellent turnout for week 1. That's a great sign for the season. I'm really looking forward to the season. I hope everybody else is too.
Well, I am too. I'm going to be on the call, I think, just for this one, and I am so glad I was on this one, Josh, but I will be watching, at least, maybe participating, hopefully, if work lets me, for the rest of the season. But Joshua, I don't know if you want congratulated or not, but you are going to get a congratulations for that top 10 with a damaged front end after lap 1 in the Spec 5, or in the Spec Racer Fords, and then also in the Spec 5s. Great drive, great battles. Thank you so much for the battles you put on for us, and thank you so much for the sponsorship tonight.
No problem. I'm happy to do it. And I'm hoping that now we've had a good broadcast and we've had good turnout that, and think about it, other people will come out here and sponsor these races and get, the eyeballs on their broadcast, and all the people can find out about wherever your company is.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Ron Mons is sitting here as well, and that man had better promote this league as much as he can, because if we have racing like this the rest of the season, I'm going to be a very, very, very busy man. When I say busy, I'm going to be busy on my couch watching all of this racing every Wednesday night. Thank you so much, Josh, for your time.
All right. Thank you.
That was Joshua Justice, sponsor of tonight's race. Again, massive shout out to him. Really, Ron, I was looking through, he only lost 4 positions, and that is a crazy amount of positions to only lose after what he went through on lap 1.
Yeah, it's like the front end of his car achieved low Earth orbit. The front end of the car was completely pinched off. The front wheel was sticking out so far that, I mean, he said how much time he was losing around there. Super tough ask. So the fact that he wheeled that car into a top 10, even with that damage, really speaks to the kind of driver that Josh Justice is. And once again, I want to thank Josh Justice for sponsoring today's broadcast. If you aren't at all interested in sponsoring the rest of the season here in the Ray Esports Club Racing League, you can get in contact with Mr. Stevie Ray by joining the Slow Motion Broadcasting Discord server through the link on the SMB YouTube channel and the link down in the description on this broadcast. But we also, I believe, may have the opportunity
we got
to
a
shout out
winner.
a race winner. Yes, we do.
We have Miss Casey Knight in the booth, and I don't know why I'm talking, Ron. She is all yours, but the first thing, actually, I'm going to talk first. Casey, great win. That's all I'm going to say in the spec racer Ford. Ron, you can have her.
Yeah, let's have a chat with Casey Knight at the end of this race. Casey, welcome into the booth. From one end of the emotion spectrum to another, going from a little bit of disappointment at the end of that MX-5 race to pure jubilation here in the spec racer Fords. Want to, of course, focus on the win. How was it out there in the serves?
Oh my gosh, I haven't touched this car in a while. I remember back when Weekend Warriors was back on Apex Racing TV, I did about half a season there, and that was probably the most I ever been invested in this car, and then I just kind of forgot about it and then did my own things. But having this car here, I love the racing here. It's so crazy with the amount of fighting that there was at the start of it. So the moment I got up to the top 5, top 6, I saw all that fighting. I'm like, yeah, go ahead. I'm going to stay back here and just stay alive. With about 10 minutes ago, when I went for that move for the lead, I'm like, okay, I need to be in P4 on the last lap, and I just sat there. And then it was just about hitting my marks, staying cautious. If there was a fight going ahead of me, give somebody a bump so it's not too wide into a corner and nobody loses the gap. And it was all about growing that gap behind us so there's no more third parties in this. And then that final run, I just asked Michelle, wish me luck, and I just sent it. And you know what, when he sent it around here, you gotta do it right. This was playing when I did it. Let's freaking go, Daytona! Woo!
I will speak over that just so we don't get any sort of DMCA strike on this broadcast. But that is, I can't necessarily blame you for having that.
Yes, I opened up a Coke just for that bit.
Yeah, fair enough. Honestly, fair enough. I was gonna say, from our perspective in the booth, I mean, some of the noises that I let out looking at the racing, I am gonna have to probably swallow a whole bag of cough drops after this.
Oh my gosh,
the nerves were running wild from our perspective in the broadcast booth. I'm sure for you behind the wheel, it was equally
the moment
terrifying.
I got side by side in that 4 wide, I knew I was winning. My neighbors are probably awake. The neighbors are probably awake. The squirrels are probably afraid of this house, and I probably scared a few deer.
Honestly, I can't necessarily judge because some of the definitely worth it. I can't judge because some of the high-pitched squeaks that I let out during this show, I'm sure somebody could probably record those and use them in hospitals to dissolve kidney stones. But you had a fantastic race here for round number 1 of the season. But looking ahead, next time out, at least here for group number 1, won't be until December the 10th. Gonna be at Mount Panorama, so we're going to another draft track there for the next race of this series.
I am not going to promise anything about my... I had no expectations of doing well in this race. I'm like, okay, we're just going to do this 30-minute race and then go to bed. That's it. That's my plan. Oh, hey, I qualified top 10. All right. Oh, I'm leading this race. Oh, I won. Well, okay. Panorama. Not good track for me. We'll see what happens. Hopefully it's Michelle in the interview room and not me.
Yeah, we'll have to see how she does, because she put on some good drives here and is
she was doing fantastic. Yeah, she was doing fantastic.
And but before we wrap up this interview, and I'll let you give the opportunity to give any thanks or shout outs here in a couple of moments, I want to thank you and Michelle for the pushing that y'all did during the F-Rock broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting.
Don't bring that race up. I've already forgot about it.
See, the only reason I can't let that down is down to the fact that I think as I was seeing you two work together, I said that trying to push with a damaged front end on a big oval like Michigan is like tasking Usain Bolt with running a 100-meter dash in shoes made out of chocolate pudding. And that is,
where do you come up with this, Ron?
I do not. I was dropped on my head too much as a child. You can very much so tell that. But I just want to thank you for that, because that has gone off into the SMB like history books as some of the weirdest crap that's come out of my mouth. But Casey, before we let you go and celebrate this win, we'll let you give any thanks or shout outs of your own.
Well, thank you, everybody here for putting on this broadcast. Josh Justice for sponsoring, CV Ray for putting on this league that's been going on for a while and expanding it to the full-on club scene that it is. Michelle, obviously, she is amazing and the love of my life. And well, that train of three in front of me for taking out the lead pudding weights out of my shoes and let me sprint like Usain Bolt across the line to get that win at Daytona, baby.
I'm never going to let that comment down, no matter what I do for the rest
you
of my
are
career.
nuts.
You know what? I may as well accept defeat, question mark, and just roll with the punches,
Just roll with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just roll with it how I roll with too much mustard.
Fair enough. Okay, Casey, thank you for joining us here in the booth. Congratulations on the win here at Daytona, and looking forward to seeing you out there wherever it is in the not too far off future here on SMB. Thank you for joining us, and congratulations once again.
Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
You as well. That right there was Casey Knight. That was one of the more entertaining interviews I think I've ever had, and hopefully the Daytona music is not going to get this broadcast DMCA striked. So if you're tuning into the one and only airing of this series before this channel gets taken down, what a way to get this season up and rolling, and what a way to go out.
Well, I mean, Casey said she hopes that it's Michelle up in the interview waiting room and not her from here on out. But I'm telling you what, after that interview, Ron, I think we need more Casey in the interview waiting room. But I mean, all night, it has just been a knockdown, drag out. Apologies to the other 36 drivers in the Spec 5 race, and apologies to the other 33 drivers, or the 31 drivers we had in the Spec Racer Ford race. I mean, it is just was insane up front. Unbelievable driving by the drivers up front. A few mistakes, but everybody makes mistakes around here, Daytona. It's how well you can capitalize on them, and at least in the Spec Racer Fords. Casey almost did that in the Spec 5s, but she definitely did that in the Spec Racer Fords. Unbelievable racing tonight.
Yeah, what a race. What a way to get this season up and rolling. And I'll tell you what, folks, that is far from the end of the action here on Slow Motion Broadcast. And looking at the broadcast that lie ahead, we've got the Sim Racers Group F3 series running at this exact moment here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, running their 7th race of the season at Alton Park here tonight. You can catch Mr. J.R. Gregory and Kenan Miller on the call for that, with Mike Braun working on the cameras and the graphics in the virtual production hauler. This upcoming weekend, we have got you booked out with the action. Formula V's racing at Summit Point. That's always a bit of a draft fest. The Formula Fords running at Brands Hatch. That'll be in cooperation with the ongoing iRacing FF1600 Festival after the real life one this past weekend. And the Spec Racer Ford's going to be running at the Chicago Street Course this upcoming Sunday as well. XSLR going to round off the dirt oval side of things with the big block modifieds racing at the Charlotte Dirt Oval. And then next week you can tune in to the Sim Racing Group F4 series at Interlagos, the Extreme Motorsports Ferrari Road and Oval Challenge at Le Mans, not bus stop, that's not the racetrack they're running at this week. And Sim Racing Group F3 action going to be at Monza. All the stuff to look forward to here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Gives you a darn good reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on the racing action. What a way to get this season up and rolling here. We've been here for probably a little over half an hour longer than we were meant to, but we had a heck of a lot of fun here tonight, Adam. I'll let you wrap things up and let's get out of here and probably crack open a couple of drinks after what was a super fun night.
First of all, it's way too late for you, and you're still too young, Ron. I will start with that. But no, I'm kidding, by the way. You can do whatever Papa Ron allows you to do. But it was unbelievable racing all night. Just amazing. It really was. I can't say enough to Joshua Justice, and I can't thank him enough for being able, for not being able to, but for footing the bill for the sponsorship for this, both races. Just, I can't say enough to him because it was well-deserved. Both races ended spectacularly. The racing was ferocious all night long. Congratulations to everybody that was involved in that. Congrats to Josh Justice for probably sponsoring one of the best races I've ever watched here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. But for myself and for Mr. Ron, the one, the only, the beautiful Mons, and from Slow Motion Broadcasting, thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the not too distant future. See what I did there, Ron?
Nicely played.